This was the first time that I traveled such a long time, 4 weeks, more than 4 weeks, on my own. And I wanted it that way. I wanted to be able to move in and out of these different settings and meeting different people and visiting different ashrams in different cities as myself, not as part of a group or a delegation, or, you know, I visited a lot of places in different combinations of people, but I just wanted to be me, and I didn't have an elaborate agenda. My agenda was to try to be curious and open and humble and just see what each day brought. And so I would arrive at a particular ashram. They were really kind. They would meet me at the airport and bring me to a guest house on the campus. And then one of the swamis would just sit with me and help me decide how to spend my week, and then help me introduce me to people who would go, you know, show me how to get to places. And I mean, sometimes it was how to take an auto rickshaw through all of the back lanes of a suburb of Calcutta to get an Indian SIM card for my phone, which is, you know, a half-day adventure. And other times it would be someone to maybe take me to an amazing temple and tell me a little bit about the history of the place. And in that process of meeting different Indian friends and guides, I was struck by how every person that I met was so sweet. You know, just there was an incredible sweetness. I've really never experienced anything like it. It's hospitality so embodied.
The tea shop.
1 second. One woman that I met, she's a doctor, and she took a day off to go to temples with me, and she gave me gifts. And I visited various monasteries, and they would give me stacks of books to read, and everybody gave me tea the minute I walked in any room or space. It's striking to think about how less hospitable we are, even though we think as Americans that we're so friendly. And I've sort of vowed to myself that now I'm not going to have a single meeting without making sure that somebody has coffee and tea and maybe even something to eat. I mean, I just have to up my hospitality game, because I've been the recipient of such generosity. And I know everybody says that about traveling in other countries. It was very true in India, and spiritually generous too. I mean, really taking the time to explain to me the history of this particular mystic named Ramakrishna, who inspired this particular movement that I was studying, that was sort of my lens at looking at Hinduism more broadly. And I loved every story that I heard about Ramakrishna and about some of the swamis that he inspired. There's a sort of a real appetite for telling those stories. They're like the parables that we hear about with Jesus, in a way. The stories are instructive. And one day I got to visit a convent full of Hindu nuns, and this was also in Kolkata. And we just spent the morning drinking tea and telling stories about what it was like to be women faith leaders in these very different traditions, what a lot of challenges they faced in establishing their temple and convent, and how much it meant to them to have such a place, and in India, the first. And so those moments were also very, very powerful for me. Just the friendships that I made, even though these meetings with people were sort of 3 hours here, 5 hours there, they were fleeting, and yet they were also rich. And again, back to hospitality, no one ever lets you leave without feeding you and welcoming you. Endless cups of chai.